Welcome to episode 33 of Producer Talk with Bass Kleph. Today's special guest is Marcel Vautier, a melodic progressive house producer with a deep love for emotional, evolving music. He's been steadily carving out his own sound, drawing inspiration from artists like deadmau5, Pryda, and Dinka, and releasing a growing catalogue of originals, remixes, and collaborations across respected underground labels. Now, Marcel's one of those artists who's genuinely in it for the music, building his own label, designing his own artwork, and putting in serious time to refine every detail of his sound. His approach is thoughtful, authentic, and always evolving. And I've been looking forward to having this chat for a while. So welcome to the show, man. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, hey Stu. I'm super happy to be here.
Awesome.
And I was looking forward to this as well. And really stoked about having you on talking about my music.
Yeah, likewise, man. I got a lot of questions for you I want to pick your brain on. But for people that aren't familiar with your stuff just yet, let's start at the top. How would you describe, in your own words, your sound and the vibe you're going for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question that I could answer in many ways. I will maybe give you the long version,
Sure.
And you just interrupt me if I'm rambling too much.
Sure, man.
So I would say I've always been into electronic music since I was a kid. And yeah, it was really in the area around 2010 where I had been through many electronic music styles, and I liked them all, but I never fell in love with a style quite like the progressive house that was around in that time, like 2010 or a bit before, when it was, like you already mentioned in the intro, deadmau5 or Adam K and Soha, Dinka, also Pryda, who pioneered this kind of more melodic version of progressive house. And, I come basically from trance and house. These are kind of my two genres. And I always found trance a bit too fast. And I found house a bit too rooted to the earth, let's say, not ethereal enough. And there was kind of the years when these two things came together for me. And I thought, wow, that is kind of the ultimate genre. And it was around that time where I decided, I want to get into the game as a producer. And to answer your question, how my music sounds like, it's kind of originating from that point that is now, I don't know how long ago, 20 years or something, almost 15 years. So it's pretty old school foundation. You might still hear that. Some people tell me, Marcel, you need to get a bit more modern with your music, but I'm a bit stuck in these old times. So my music really sounds like a part of it, like that time. So if you like that kind of style, I'm still making it these days, and I still love it. I think there's still a couple of people who also love this style. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, if you didn't listen to that, I would say my music is progressively evolving house music with strong melodic components, like I mentioned, like some etherealness that I borrow from trance. That's more or less it.
Man, it's an amazing time, an amazing era for music. It was very magical when it first happened as well too, and it's sad that there wasn't a lot of, it didn't continue, for that much longer. So it's awesome that you're still keeping the sound alive. I have some other students that do this as well, actually. It's there is a following out there for sure, people that want more of this, like it kind of disappeared too soon or something. I think you're really capturing it well. I really love the way you incorporate the beauty in your music, not just melodically, but sonically too. And then with the nice juxtaposition of the power, like it's definitely club ready, but it's really beautiful to listen to as well.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Yeah, many things I can say about that. I mean, club readiness has been a goal of mine for a very long time. And I just recently came into that area where my productions got more or less there, I guess. Still relatively new for me. That is one thing. And the other thing is, definitely, there's still folks who think the same. There are plenty or handful or more of labels who are still releasing this kind of style. We call it melodic progressive house mostly these days, just because progressive house is kind of a fluid term, right? It evolves over the years, and every 5 years or so, progressive house is a different thing. It's just like, I never understood this. You can see progressive house as either that the music is progressively evolving. I mean, the song itself, it relies on kind of telling a story, right? That's kind of like a progression in the song. But you could also see it as house that is in itself modern, progressive, in a progressive way, you know? It's just going with the time. And yeah, that's why for the style that I make, it's probably not the progressive house that you would call progressive house nowadays. I think you would maybe people call it melodic house nowadays. But that just to say that our small niche where we release we call that usually melodic progressive house, just to say, hey, it's that progressive house with the great melodies from back then, and we're taking it to the next level. We're building on it, and we're still developing it to this day.
Exactly. Yeah. It's coming out sounding amazing, man. Really digging it. Yeah. I love that you're doing your own thing and being passionate about that's the sound you like, whether it's might not necessarily be what's number one on Beatport, for instance, right now. But, you know, you've previously said this is not about chasing Beatport charts. It's instead about focusing on the music that the world needs more of. I think we need more people to do that. How do you stay true to that path, or what advice could you give to other people that are kind of deciding what path they should go down, you know, when it could be so tempting to chase trends?
Wow. Yeah. Many roads I could go down now with this question. I love it. The first thing that comes to mind is, I mean, it depends what you want to do. Do you want to earn your living from making music? Or do you do this more out of a passion for a certain sound? I think both can be combined, but it depends. I think the more you want success in numbers, you need to go with the time or find some way that you really stand out. But you need to add something to what has already been there in a way. So that is something I've been figuring out for myself. I mean, I don't know if that will ever stop. It's something I continuously think about. But in general, I would say it's important to do what you feel. For sure, you can produce just a formula. And I think many people do that. Like when you're a ghost producer or something, you just go for it mainly for the business aspect. Still, your music is still great to produce and it's your passion, but it's probably not the realization of your own sound. But I personally love to realize kind of my worldview in music. I admit it's a bit connected to ego, like a little bit, hey, what would I want the ideal sound to be? And from that angle, I can totally encourage people if it's on the side and you don't need to earn your living from it, to do what feels authentic. And I think also to do what is fun, because that reflects in the music. I think unless you're very good at covering it, I think you can hear it if there's soul flowing into the song or not, or if it's just a formula created song. And sometimes in the Beatport charts, I find the songs are super well produced. They are really well done. You hear there must be a master at work. But then it's like, yeah, okay, but somehow there's something missing, like some life or some imperfection or some grit. I don't know what it is, but
some soul.
I tried. Yeah. And I don't know what it is. It's a bit intangible, but I'm guessing is it your passion project? Is your soul flowing into your music? If yes, I think that's a very good thing. And if then you become very good, like the guys in the Beatport charts, then you have this edge. You have this thing that many other tracks are missing. And that's personally what I'm hunting for.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you're doing the right thing there, man. I recommend people to do just what you're talking about here as well, too. To base it on what you purely love, to always keep it fun rather than chasing those trends. And I know you're saying depends whether you're doing this for a living or not. But I would even argue or suggest that even if you are doing it purely to make a living, you should still, as much as possible, lean towards making it more about you and your choice and your tastes and things you love and you want to do. Because, like you say, it will come through in the music, and it's more genuine, more sincere. You can hear it. And often, almost always, you make better music when you approach it from that angle of, like, if you sit down and go, let's write a hit song that makes me lots of money, it's probably not going to be very good because you're approaching it from the wrong sort of mindset, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with that. Yeah, I think you can really hear that in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, and this lets you explore your artistic side of yourself, you know. And I know it's easier said than done in a way too. I know what it's like when you're coming up in a certain town and you've got your favorite club you go to see your favorite DJs, and there's most likely going to be a certain sound in your town that is popular, a sound that gets people bookings and shows, a sound that most people dance to, sound that might make you more money. And if that's not personally your favorite thing, you shouldn't do it. Try not to. Start establishing your own thing like Marcel's doing, because things go in and out of fashion anyway. And I often talk about this like fashion trend, kind of like a wheel, or a clock spinning around in a way. And it comes back to being in fashion again. And you can either be the person that's chasing that clock hand all the way around, like chasing the trend, and you'll never quite get it because you're always watching what it's doing and emulating, so you can't be in front. But if you just do your own thing and get really good at it, eventually that thing spins around and it meets you and you're ready.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I've heard that from other folks as well. I had the pleasure of talking to the producer of Dinka, Chris Reese, a while ago, and he said he thinks it's time for this cycle to come back to the times that we cherish and that I talked about. And he was even thinking like, maybe I should do something with the Dinka project again. So, but that's just an added bonus. I guess it's super cool if that happens and more people listen to this music again. But so the thing is, it's not a requirement at all. I would even go so far to say if no one or if even one person listens to my music, it would be worth it. Just because, so if no one listens, it still fulfills me to produce this. It's just the right thing to do. And if one person listens, that is just already epic, because to connect with someone over something that you did, that's just such a huge reward on top of what is already in itself so fulfilling, right? And if you have this kind of base, in my experience, of this kind of reason for doing things, then you're around for a long time, right? I mean, often I think you see very, very successful tracks, but the producers disappear after a short while. Like, you don't see them anymore, or they change alias or whatever they do. But there's a couple of guys, they produce music since when I was not even producing, I was just listening to it, and they're still around to this day, and they were super respected back then, they're still super respected today, because they're going their own way. I mean, I don't know, Sebastian Leger comes to mind. Oh yeah,
he's great.
Yeah, this guy, I mean, he has changed styles over the years, but he's always so authentic, and he comes up with things that no one has ever heard before. That's kind of like a role model for me, because for me, it's an ideal example of someone who just does his thing, and he does it so well that he draws you in, like he masters it, instead of running after a trend and mastering that and then being screwed when the trend changes. He's just making his own trend, kind of. And that's for me super. I admire that.
Me too. I admire that as well. I recommend it too. And it just seems like the much better way for longevity. You know, maybe if people were being impatient, they might chase the trends, but it's better to play the long game, right?
Yeah. I mean, it really depends for me what you want. I think you can go also in the Beatport charts and you can take the top 10 and see if one of those tracks you could produce something on that level, and then maybe you get into the top 100 of Beatport yourself, and you get maybe booked for some gigs, and you launch your career, and then you get some great momentum, and then maybe you can still do what you want based on that afterwards. I think there are many paths, but yeah, it's difficult to say. I think everyone has to choose. For me, it's the organic path. I prefer that than over the engineered path. I believe, like, if I stay at it and I work with folks like you, Stu, who are really world class in their field, that I can just do my own thing, but get the support to really bring it to the next level. And then, yeah, like with the role model that I just mentioned, Sébastien Léger, that's just like making your style so irresistible that at one point it doesn't matter that much anymore if it's in trend or not, just because you create your own field, your own niche. And sure, it's a long shot, but for me, it's worth it to try that.
Yeah, I agree, man. You're doing a great job of it too. Speaking of doing things your own way, you've got your own label now too, Vautic Records. What made you decide to go that route, and how has it shaped your creative freedom?
Yeah, that's right. So my own label, so far it's only an outlet for my own music. Maybe that will change one day, but I will tell you about the motivation behind. So I've released on a couple of labels in my genre, and yeah, I had a couple of relatively successful songs in the beginning of my career, and the label where those songs were on basically closed its doors. It shut down, and with that, all my songs from one day to the other disappeared. Oof. And people were writing me and were like, hey, I listened to that song the other day and now it's gone. Like, can you do something about it? And I was like, yeah, I was really frustrated by that, because now what do? You can go to another label maybe and say, hey, do you want to take over all these songs? But can you even do that? Like, there's also like contractual stuff, like, can I, if the label shuts down, can I take my songs and do something else with them?
Sometimes they have a clause for that, sometimes.
Yeah, right. I think there was some kind of clause in that area that made me confident enough to decide to put them out myself, just because I didn't want to risk it anymore. In my genre, it just happens that labels close down. There are not so many. And over the years, even respected ones, they're not there anymore today. And I thought, what I want to do, if someone likes my music, for my listeners, what I really want to do is to make it always available to them. So I would really not like if someone buys my song on Beatport or wherever, or favorites it on Spotify, and then the next day it's not there anymore. And for me, it's important to have control over that. So that was the idea behind my label. Put it out myself, and I will always, I'm the artist. I have a high interest that these songs stay available. So it's the best guarantee to my listeners too. Yeah. To have them on my own label, they will be there always. I'll take care of that.
Faster and the as other, well, right? A lot faster to get tracks out.
Oh yeah, that's also a really good reason, because for the folks that have not yet released with labels, it can take time. It can take somewhere between a couple months to even more than a year sometimes until your song comes out. And ideally, I guess we as artists, we try to have a release schedule that is more or less balanced, so that not 4 tracks come out in 1 month and then nothing next month, So you got to somehow balance all these different releases with different labels in your schedule to make sure that maybe 1 track per month comes out. And that's so much easier when you have your own label, obviously, because you just can just decide it. You can even just make a song and release it 2 weeks later, because usually like 2 weeks is around the period you need to distribute it to the shops and streamers, and like then there's the Beatport exclusive period and so on and so forth. But you can be really agile, and even if you still release on other labels, you can fill the holes in between with releases on your own label. And last but not least, Stu, what you always tell me is you can shop your tracks around, send them to other labels where you would like to release. And if you don't get them placed there, then you release it yourself as a backup strategy. So like this, you make sure that all your hard work gets paid off and your music gets out there in any case.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to work, because it's just a nice feeling knowing that as you're working on a track, that it's definitely going to come out. There is always an option for it, whether it gets signed to your favorite label, some new label you just heard of, or it comes out on your own label. Yeah, I think it's a good way to approach things. And also, we're giving the big labels the option of considering it rather than just immediately putting it out on our own label.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if you want me to give you one more reason for cool to have your own label, you have artistic freedom over everything. Like you can design your own artworks. You can create your own music videos. You control the promotion. Like if, for example, often promotion that labels do is a black box to you. You can just hope that they do a good job, but sometimes you don't know if they do anything.
Yeah.
So it's super cool to just say, okay, yeah, it costs some money, yes, but you can even achieve a lot with little money in promotion. You can choose, you can choose. If you think you got the big hit now, you release it on your label and you pay a couple $100 to place it in A-list DJ promotion services. Like, it's being sent there. It's not a black box for you. If you have little money, you can still go to something like Submit Hub and submit it to a couple of the best fitting tastemakers for you. And I've seen great success that way too. So that's another advantage.
Yeah, me too. I agree, man. Let's switch gears for a minute, because I really want to talk to you a bunch today as well about mixdowns, because lately they've just been insanely dialed, your stuff, man. Can you walk us through your journey there? Like, what helped things really click?
Wow, I love the topic mixdowns. I'm really into the technical part of producing electronic music, and kind of a perfectionist at times. Like, I think my goal is pretty much unachievable. I want to make like the mixdown so perfect, but I always find something that needs to be improved. So I'm not sure that it will ever end. The journey is a very, very long one for me. I produced music since 2007. So soon I have my 20 years anniversary, but I'm nowhere. I was for most of the time nowhere near good mixdowns. I spent probably more than a decade, or at least a decade, thinking that I just need to produce more, work harder on my own, and it will come with time. And I was just like, okay, another track, and working sometimes on a track for 3 months, just having 50 different versions of it, refining this element, and then the next element popped out that was not refined enough. So I refined that, and then the next, and then the next. It never ended. It was so frustrating, but I thought, yeah, you got to do the hard work. You will get there. And it was the biggest mistake, the biggest issue in the end, that it never resolved itself. And yeah, here I can only say, really in hindsight, you, at least me, need other people who know how to do it and show it to you. And that doesn't mean watching YouTube videos or something like that. Like, I consumed a lot of that. I watched so many even famous producers in the studio videos. How did they do stuff? And everyone seems to have different techniques. And then you apply them and you have kind of like a set of different characteristics from so many different people who give you advice everywhere. And it doesn't fit together. And you're like, you just don't get to the point where it sounds good. And then the final realization in hindsight is, if you learn from someone who has a very solid know-how and they know how to teach it to you, that is the way to go. So I can tell you that within, let's say, 2 years, maybe a bit more, of working with Stu here, I just advanced my mixdowns like tenfold. It's insane.
Yeah.
What I couldn't do over more than a decade, I could do in a few years. And I regret a little bit that I had this mindset of self-made artist, like, I can do it on my own.
I think you even did it faster than 2 years. Even after like a couple of months, maybe 3 months, it was already a huge improvement. And then we've just been fine-tuning it ever since, because you do strive for perfection. And many people would already say your stuff after, us working for 3 or 4 months is already definitely good enough, ready to release and everything. But you're taking it to a whole nother level now, where it's really polished. It's sounding amazing, and it's super fun to work on that too. It's always fun working on all your stuff, but to going through your latest stuff and the level of detail I have to listen for now too, and the things we're enhancing and considering and stuff is it's a great challenge as well for me, and really enjoyable.
Yeah, okay. I hope I don't work you too hard with that. But thank you so much for the compliments.
No, you're welcome. No, I love it. The tracks are sounding amazing. The mixdowns are unreal, man. Well, over those last couple of years, were there any big turning points or ideas that changed how you approached your mixdowns?
Yeah, a million. But I have to tell you, again, Most of them came from my mentors. Not so much random tips on the internet. Let me see what I can pick out here. There are many, but one huge one was listening in mono. So producing or mixing, at least in mono. I didn't do that for most of the time. I always thought, screw the people who listen in mono.
Yeah.
My song is supposed to be listened to in stereo.
We've all got 2 ears.
Yeah, who has one speaker nowadays? But it's obviously completely wrong because Bluetooth speakers, many have just one, and in the clubs you often still have mono sound, and there are essentially many use cases still for mono these days, but the thing here is not even that it sounds good in mono, but the thing is, if you mix it down well in stereo, it sounds crap in mono. But if you mix it well in mono, it will very likely sound very good in stereo too.
Yeah.
So that was definitely one very big aspect. And I have to say, for me personally, it's not always fun to mix in mono because I'm missing all this width, but that's kind of where I just would be disciplined and say it's while you work at it, you just have to go through that.
Yeah, I think the mixing in mono is what makes you realize that could potentially be a problem. You wouldn't even know otherwise, and you wouldn't realize that there is something that is called too wide, and you wouldn't care. But if the most important thing we've got is our volume balance, and when something's too wide, it affects the volume balance, so it's messing with our most important thing.
Yeah, I think, Stu, you're probably the biggest expert on this field. I've taken so much away from you, and you still have to tell me to this day that my things are sometimes too wide. And honestly, I have learned by now, listening to other people's music, how many producers screw this up. There's tons of super wide music out there, usually from people who are not on a professional level, I have to say. Who come maybe from a level like me. So I think these people, they can learn a lot from this. It sounds super awesome so wide. You think on your headphones, you think, wow, I'm into the sound. It's such a massive soundscape. But you're really sacrificing your mixdown in ultimately, because it will sound only great to other producers who are listening in their great setup. And all the others, they will probably not hear your mix so great, and that totally limits your chances of having more listeners.
Right. Yeah, that's an important one. Super important. What other things really hit home for you?
Yeah, another one that just came to mind is, so I think many people share this problem of struggling with the bass area in their songs, and for me that's a big one. Was a big one too, especially with the kick drum. Is the kick drum, how does it behave in the sub frequencies? I couldn't even hear sub frequencies on my monitoring system really, because maybe the speakers could reproduce them, but my room was not ideal enough for the super low sub, And then on headphones, I find it challenging to listen to sub on headphones, because it's a frequency area for me that needs some air to really reproduce. And so I was stuck there a lot. When you want to produce club-ready music, my understanding nowadays is you need to be insanely surgical in that area, because any problem there will magnify tenfold on a big club system, because it's so massive. So if you have just a tad too much sub, it will just blow over everything in your mix, and you will basically lose all the groove and stuff like that. So here the great tip, and again, huge thanks to you, Stu. You gave me the great advice of getting a sub pack, and don't want to advertise that here, but it has really changed my way of producing, because who doesn't know what it is? It's a tactile bass device, if you want to call it that. So it vibrates, and it gives you the feeling of hearing it like in a club, and it vibrates in your back, so you feel the sub. And
it's surprisingly accurate, isn't it?
It's really amazing. Takes a bit to get used to, at least for me, because you suddenly have sound from the top and then the vibration from the back, and but at some time listening to it, your brain kind of merges it together, and you hear it as if it's one, and then you don't want to miss it anymore.
Yeah.
And just to add to that, I mean, Subpack at the moment, I think you cannot buy it.
It's so unfortunate. Yeah, if anybody's rushing to go and buy one right now, we have to caution you and say, we're not sure. If you ordered one right now, a new one, I don't know how long it's going to take to arrive. A lot of people have been having problems. So double check all of this stuff first. And lately, I normally say to people, buy a secondhand one off eBay or something, or Reverb, because at least you know it's going to come. So I really hope they fix this soon, because it's so unfortunate, and the product is amazing.
Right. Yeah, I pre-ordered the new Subpack 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm still waiting for it.
Wow.
They're having lots of trouble in between. I think there was a thread on Reddit where they said they were close to bankruptcy, and it's like, yeah, okay, maybe it will never come. So it's also kind of dangerous to rely on technology where you might not be able to produce anymore if you don't have it. And I faced that as well. I'm a lot on the road, a lot. I love traveling, and I produce a good portion of my music in trains, so on headphones. And I don't take my Subpack. It would be fun though. And there I found that there's a plugin that was recommended to me by another mentor. It's called the Abbey Road, I believe, by Waves.
Yeah.
And that brings you your music into the space of the Abbey Road studios, basically.
Oh, like a simulated room kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. And I wouldn't really know what that's good for, but it works to bring out the bass. Like when you have headphones, like I said, I feel you miss the air that the bass has to travel through to really judge it well. But with this plugin, it gives you the room. It simulates it, and of course it's not as good as with the Subpack, but I have produced some of the mixes that you just gave me so good feedback on. I've produced them that way, so it can be done if you have a plugin like that.
Yeah, interesting. I'll have to check that one out. I really like, for that kind of stuff, like checking the low end if I don't have my Subpack. I'm really digging Excite has this analyzer called Vision 4X. And it has a great spectrogram on there, which is really helpful for me to see the relationship between my kick and my bass line and the super sub frequencies. You use it too, right?
Oh yeah, I totally followed you there. You showed it to me once, and right after I got it. It's just that good. It's the visual partner to what I just mentioned. Sure, I think you still, in my opinion, need your ears.
Yeah.
But it can be tremendously helpful to see also what is going on. And sometimes, Stu, when we work together, you have a suspicion that maybe the kick is a bit too short or something like that. And then we look at the spectrogram, and you can really see where the kick drum ends, where the sub stops, and where the gap is in between the kicks and how long it is. And it's like, if you have a feeling, you can confirm it that way.
Yeah, it's amazing. There's another one that's similar that some people ask me about called Mini Meters. I have that as well. I like analyzers, and tried it out. And it's interesting for some things, for the level of detail it can do. But I find, for me personally, I do prefer easily I can see things in the low end in the Vision 4X from Excite instead. It's not sponsored or anything. I just really like it because I have people keep asking me that. Why don't you just use Mini Meters? I'm like, well, it's good, but it's not the same.
Yeah. And it not only has a spectrograph or whatever that's called, it also has reference curves, right?
Yeah.
So you can compare all frequency areas of your mix to reference to like normalized curves of certain genres, or you can create your own curves with music that you like. And I think, that's super cool combination to have that in one tool. I think there's also one by Isotope, like a reference curve one that many people use, but I can also really recommend having one of those.
Yeah, I tried the Isotope one later after I had the Excite one, especially because I think they were giving it away for free at one point. So I was going to go, should I recommend this to people? It's not as accurate. It's much more vague compared to the Vision one. So if you've tried the Isotope one and you think these things are useless, you might still want to try the Vision one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can also totally just recommend to ask Stu if you have the chance. Anyone should ask Stu regarding which plugins are good, because you often test these things A, B next to each other. I've had so many times where you say, yeah, take that one because I've compared those and I just did all the work for you and I found out which one is the most recommendable. And I'm like, hey, thanks, man. I don't have to go through that tedious work.
Yeah, save so much time, right? Let me do it. I like nerding out on that kind of stuff, so I'll figure it out for you. I was gonna say too, one thing I always really admire about you, man, is how coachable you are. Like you take feedback seriously and apply it really well, and you always come back with great results and better questions as well. Has that always been your learning style?
Oh, thank you so much. Has that always been my learning style?
Or did you develop it?
I'm just trying to think back in my life where that started. I don't know, but I think the biggest successes and breakthroughs in my life were whenever I put my ego aside and I said, let's just assume what this person tells you works and let's try it out. And go at it with an open mind rather than with a closed mind. It can be at times that it doesn't work, but I found more often you don't regret having approached that with an open mind. And your buddy John, who is also a teacher, a coach, he often tells me this as well. Whenever I'm resisting something, he tells me that, but then I reflect on it. I come back and I said, I tried it and you were right. And it's like, luckily I was able to overcome my ego, which said, hey, I already know this. Why would I need anyone's opinion on that?
Yeah.
But hey, sometimes people who are more experienced than you at least got to give them a chance to convince you and not close your mind from the get-go.
Yeah. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You maybe it's wrong, and then you try it and it doesn't work, and well, now I know. Yeah,
that's exactly it. And I also believe firmly that I don't believe in this self-made story. I like I said earlier, I have believed it at one point, but that was kind of an awakening where I realized we are more of the sum of our teachers or the sum of the people we surround ourselves with and we decide to learn from. And I think everything ultimately is a combination of things. Like an artist usually is a combination of, in my opinion, of their inspiration. Yeah, like other artists, other styles that they're inspired by. Then on the technical side, maybe the teachers. Which teachers did they have that each one put a little bit of their signature into the pot, and everything mixes together and makes you in the end. So it's like, if you would shut that all out and you would just say, I'm not open to that, I can do it on my own.
Yeah.
In my opinion, in my experience, you end up in this trap where you just never release anything. Or at least you never anyone wants to listen to your music.
That's so true. And I think for many people, they might be in this situation and not even realize that's the biggest missing piece of the puzzle. Because as soon as they open that door and let in other people's opinions and consider them, or even better yet, seek out other people's opinions, it's when they can really start growing, and that action creates some clarity towards the path that they need to follow. Because often there's a lot of unknown unknowns. There's a lot of things people don't know that they don't know, and they need someone to point that out so they at least know, well, what should I be learning next? What should I be focusing on?
Oh yeah, that's important. That's so important, to not run down the wrong road, and just because you didn't know any better. I think this is the important thing. No one can do the work for you. You still have to do all the work. Like learning from Stu doesn't mean Stu will make you great. It means you make yourself great, but under Stu's guidance.
Yeah, I can tell you how to do the push-ups. You still have to do them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's important to realize.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's always helpful if you can consider constructive criticism compared to if you can't. So you definitely that's definitely a skill to work on. But I would encourage people to even take it a step further and, like I was saying, seek out good criticism. And like the people I see succeeding the most are like hungry for it. They're like, please tell me what you think. Please tell me what you think of this. Oh, tell me more. But what about that? They don't come in with any, and this is not just my students, but people who I see successful in music and all sorts of things, business and all sorts of stuff. They're eager to learn, and they treat learning like a gift of an experience, and they run with that information, and that really helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, yeah.
I know, you go, man.
Yeah, it was just came to my mind that I don't know if that helps people, but I think it also depends which culture you come from.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Germany, and like mentoring was not really a huge concept. I have not heard the term until later in my life. I didn't even know what it was. And when I worked at one point in my other career at an American company, all of a sudden it was this whole structure about mentoring. Like everyone had at least one mentor in the company, and people were doing fireside chats to just talk between them and help others gain insights on their experience. And it's all like this kind of pushing each other up culture. And to me, that is something that really comes from America, at least in my experience. And in Germany, at least at that point, that was, in my circles, it was unknown. And that was huge to realize. So depending on which culture you come from, this might be something worth considering embracing. The mindset of mentoring in general, the concept.
I agree. Absolutely, man. Yeah. Yeah, it can totally change from culture to culture, but it doesn't mean we can't change too. Let's switch gears for a minute here, because I wanted to ask you about Lumidelic. You mentioned working with them, right? Someone who used to be a big inspiration for you. What was it like going from a fan to being a collaborator?
Oh, yeah. That was a really great moment. So, yeah, I think Lumidelic was one of my first personal influences in the melodic progressive house genre. So he already produced this kind of music when it was still popular, and he has kind of a couple of videos with millions of views, and I'm like, wow, he's such a great producer and everything. For sure numbers play into that as well, but now the music is really, really excellent. And he had this kind of skill set to make his music sound technically really well, combined with this portion of soul that we talked about earlier, that I hear in his music. So when I started, yeah, he was pretty much on top of the genre for me. And it's like, wow, he's really making some of the best music in melodic progressive house. And I just admired it as a fan. And then I got into producing this myself, and my music sounded so much worse than his. And I thought, wow, they're worlds apart. And then fast forward a couple of years, and I worked my way into the area where actually we got together for a collaboration together. And we didn't have a connection before. We didn't know each other, but I just took a shot. So this I can also recommend people: ask for what you want, even if it's bold. Mm-hmm. I just thought, hey, let's reach out to him. And I thought, probably many people ask him for a collaboration. And so how can I add something extra? So I just recorded a little video for him. And I was like, hey, how's it going? I'm Marcel. I admire your music. These and these songs, great. Super awesome what you did. What do you think of my music? I'm doing something similar to you. I would be so stoked if we could work together once, and so on and so forth. And yeah, I got a reply, and that was already very cool. And he was just super friendly and everything. And I thought, wow, he's also a great person, not only great music. And then it was clear that we wanted to work together on a song. It was called Lucky, and it's still one of my most successful songs. For him, he has more successful songs from back then, but still, it was quite well received. So I think everyone should listen to it. It has a great melody, one of the best melodies for me that I've come up with. I still remember I wrote it on a train ride from Germany to Switzerland, and the collaboration was basically written, and we were missing a melody, and so I was just getting inspired in the train, and that worked really well. And yeah, so we released that track together, and it worked so well that then shortly after, when Lumidelic opened his own label, Synthdelic Music, I believe, or Records, I'm not sure. And it was clear for me that I wanted to contribute to his label, because he's also pushing the genre, melodic progressive house. He's one of the driving forces there, keeping it alive, bringing new stuff, pushing it forward. And so I had my own release on his label after that as well, called Shades of Purple. And it's just just to wrap it up, to sum it up, incredible to think, did you start out admiring someone and then later on you actually get to work with them, and that's just, you would have never thought it's possible. And then you think, hey, I took the right road. It's just it's kind of I make my dreams just come true.
Exactly. That's amazing, man. So cool. That video, sending the video is a good idea too, because then, they guess they get to see more of your personality and everything as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I just, in the internet, it's so easy to just cold email folks. And when I receive such emails, often they seem to me like, yeah, it was just so easy to send me an email. I don't know how serious it is, and I don't know to how many others this email has gone, and it's just impersonal. And so I thought, hey, with this video, it's really customized and it's really clear that it's not just like, yeah, it would be nice to work with him just to grab some of his audience or some crap like that. No, it was a true thing, and I think this you can bring across with the video.
Yeah, you showed you're a real fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Yeah, and it's a great track, man. You've really built up a great, strong catalog already across a bunch of respected labels. What's been one of your proudest career moments so far?
Yeah, for sure, the collaboration we just discussed was a big one for me. I'm also very grateful to have my own label where I have many of my songs, and like I mentioned, for all the reasons, I can keep them available and I can do things like new versions of them or remixing them or stuff like that. So many reasons why I'm super happy to have that label. For sure, also the insight of working with Stu, with you and with others to learn from you. That took quite some overcoming ego and opening up your mind to go down that road, so that it was not easy. And also it's at times, I'm someone who I want to have things fast, but sometimes it takes time. Like I said, it took a couple of years until I got to a certain level of mixdowns that are maybe, hopefully, club ready. Yeah, and just to have this discipline to just keep on going is so important. This is kind of a quality I think you need as a producer. Like I think many producers, or at least it's very tempting to look for the magic thing that makes you a great producer. The magic plugin, the magic trick, the secret that all the pros have, but you don't. But no, it's the 1,000 thing that a pro does that you don't do. And you cannot learn this 1,000 things from one day to the other. So I'm personally very satisfied that I'm going through the grind and just learning one after the other. And then at one, you will just get better and better. And like Stu said, he already thought my mixes were good, and now he thinks they're even better. And I thought, wow, yeah. And just the other thing that comes to mind is that I'm personally, to this day, I'm a bit self-conscious about my mixdowns. I think they're never good enough.
So it never
people
changes.
Tell me, yeah, it's a bit, this is maybe what I still need to personally overcome, because a couple of folks, including you, who really have the experience to say when something is good enough, tell me, is good enough? Stop investing so much in your technical work and maybe work on the other things that are also important.
Yeah.
But this is so difficult for me. I'm like, I want to make better mixdowns until people cannot find mistakes in my mixdowns. They just sound like audiophile pleasure, And it's like, it's a very high goal, which is sometimes hard because you're constantly doubting yourself and thinking, yeah, should I really release that? But it's not perfect yet.
But the great thing is, in spite of that feeling, which I guess, many people have that feeling, especially when they're starting out. But even though you're at this super high level now, you still get that feeling sometimes. It shows how normal that is and how human that is. But I'd love to that in spite of you still feeling that feeling, you still put tracks out. You still call it, eventually go, no, that's this done. I'm putting it out and releasing them.
Oh, yeah. This is regarding your question as well. It's a huge thing to overcome, where I'm very grateful that I was able to overcome it. When I started, I was really, I have I'm struggling a bit as a person with social anxiety. So I'm like, putting myself out there was really hard. Putting my songs out there for everyone to judge, and I know they're not perfect. So for sure you can find flaws. That was also hard. And yeah, I would say there are many reasons to have a mindset to still go forth with it, but I like a lot the very well-known 80-20 principle. It's like your song is 80% there, or make it 90 if you must. If your percent is 90% there, then just release it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go for 100, it's insane. Like you will not release much. I think some people maybe can do that. There are some artists who don't release much, and if they release something, I know it's gold. This I admire too. But yeah, I don't know if that's a sustainable path. Maybe for some it is, but
and there must be a bunch of music those people don't put out, and their fans would have probably loved to have heard it.
That's another thing. As the artist, you don't necessarily know what people will love.
Yeah.
And I think I've heard this from about every artist I talked to, that they put a track out they thought was bomb and didn't get much traction. And then they released one track that was like 2 hours of work of writing it. And they're like, just need something to release it to fill the gaps. And it became very popular. And they were like super surprised. So how are you gonna find out about that if you don't release? If you're the only judge of what you release, I think you do a bit of a disservice to your listeners, because they should do the judging of what is good.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. I've had the same situation as well too, where I've labored on a track for ages and spent way too long, and it didn't go well anyway. And other times where I had to quickly rush to do a B-side for a track that I was signing, and the B-side went amazing, or just a track that was just doing really quick while I'm traveling or something. It happened to a lot of my friends, peers as well. I think Travis was just saying it on the podcast last week as well, about his biggest track ever was done in about 2 hours, but most of it anyway. Yeah, it's a crazy thing, huh?
But this is so contra-intuitive, right? That often the simple things where you are like, I'm embarrassed to tell you, this track only has 3 different synthesizer layers, like just the bass and the chords and the lead or something. And I played it on a keyboard with one finger, and I made this melody. And it's like, it's so embarrassing if you look behind the scenes, but it's the hit that everyone loves.
Yeah, this is the mental battle of music production and art creation in general, is that when this happens, and I know this feeling too, we almost feel like we're sort of cheating or something, or we're getting it. It should be more complex. Couldn't possibly just put that out like this. So what people tend to do is they do, I better go and add some more parts. I better go and make that melody more complex. I better go and spend a whole bunch more time on it. And that can sometimes kill the song. Or, at least it might just make it take longer than it needed to in the first place. But many times it kills the song, and it's letting go of that feeling of that it has to be complex or hard work. It doesn't matter if the song is good, that's all that matters. If it's good music and it sounds good, it's done, it's great. If you did it easily, shouldn't that be awesome? Shouldn't that be what we're celebrating?
Right. Yeah, I just thought, just to add to that, it's the same with processing your tracks in the project. Like sometimes it's like, okay, I have nothing on there. Shouldn't I at least have an equalizer and do something about it? But sometimes it just means, hey, you selected the right sound. It just works. If you do nothing about it, that's the way to go. If you do something about it, you actually ruin it. You risk of ruining it. And also my insight is, wherever you look in art, the masterpieces, they're often the super simple ones. Like, apparently, like, you think they don't have many sounds, or I don't know, it looks like, hey, I can do that too from the outside, but then when you try, you cannot. It's more like, this is the level of mastery when you can, with few things, make a lot. And this is something, I think, to get there, you need to work on the mindset. I call it a bit of minimalism mindset, where you try to make the most with the least things. Yeah, you don't need every latest plugin when people have made the greatest songs with past plugins that, with basic plugins. And basically it's possible to do great music with a very limited things. I have many examples there. Very long ago, I listened to an interview with Eric Prytz, and he had this strange plugins that no one I knew used. Like, he had a Korg VST, like Korg synthesizer VST, that he used, and it was not, I don't think it was trendy at all. Everyone was using like Massive back then, or Silence One maybe, and he was using just that one, and but he knew, he said he knows it inside out. He knows every sound, he knows every function, and he can make better sounds with that than with some new plugin that everyone runs after, but no one really learns inside out. So he just takes a few things that he really knows, and then out comes the stuff that we all admire, and we are like, wow, how did he produce that? He must have crazy plugins behind that. But no, it's the opposite.
Yep, 100%. It's so true. It's not about the shiny plugins and chasing down the latest one. It's about finding what works for you, and often it's the absolute simplest stuff, like your stock plugins, totally fine, and then just mastering them, putting the time into the technique, not the tool. The tools are all good enough. The built-in tools are good enough. It's the techniques and exploring with them that's going to make things stand out and make you get what you want.
Yeah, if I can add to that, I went down this journey of, I came, when I started with Stu, I came from a very complex project setup. I had a couple of plugins that were just, many people use, so I thought they're good, like third-party plugins, and I had tons of tracks in my project. I had them grouped together in various groups, and I had layers. I layered sounds together, and I was just having all this complexity everywhere. And then I just trusted you, Stu, and gradually reduced it all to the absolute essential minimum. I had no more layering. I had no more groups in my project. Everything was just single tracks. I had just one track for every function of the song. I removed all the third-party plugins and produced only with Ableton stock plugins. And I learned them so that they would sound good enough. Maybe it's easier to have an awesome sound with a preset in Serum, and it's harder to get it out of a stock synth in Ableton. But if you go down this hard route and you try to make something in Drift or so in Ableton, and you try to emulate it, you learn so much. Yeah. And this in hindsight is so important to me that I have learned what is the bare minimum. What do you really need? And then from there, I realized, okay, there are a couple of pieces that I cannot do just within Ableton. I need a couple of third-party plugins. But it's more like building it from the ground up then again, rather than not knowing what I really need and just throwing in tons of stuff and complicating your project. And that turns out, what comes out of a complicated project, in my experience, is a complicated track. And usually these are not the ones that people enjoy listening to.
Yeah. And now with all that simplicity, now that you use less tracks, less layering, less groups, less plugins, basically no third-party stuff, it sounds better, yeah?
It does. And the mixdowns are so much easier. I can tell you that. It's just like, if you have only the minimum required, you don't have things that you need to tug in between somewhere, between all these parts. You just have a well-designed sound for every area, and you learn that they just glue together naturally because they don't fight each other. And the complexity of making a mixdown suddenly diminishes, and it sounds great already without making the mixdown. You write the track, and it's like, yeah, I can make it better, but this works already. Whereas before, I thought what I was doing was awesome, and I listened to it the next day, and I was like, everything was all over the place. It was like a bad awakening.
So true, man. So true. That's great advice. You've shared so much great advice here today, man. I appreciate it so much. What's coming up for you this year? What's new? Any releases or anything? Any news you can share about what's gonna be happening?
Oh yeah. Lots of stuff is going to come. So basically, I've prepared a lot this year for maybe like the second half. So there will be a lot of stuff happening. I'll have a collaboration with Dennis Shepard coming out. This will be like a classic progressive house track, but with a well-recorded high-end vocal, like really, really well done vocal. I think that's going to be a new level for me, also working with him and working on the vocal track that is so high class. So that I'm very, very thrilled about. Will come out later this year. I'm also working with Houseman. He has created his own label, Clubhouse Records, like a year ago or something. And we got together and agreed that we release an EP. So I have 2 tracks coming out there later this year too on his label. I'm super thrilled about that too, because all this for me is next level stuff. I come from my niche and now I'm like unfolding to the wider universe of progressive house. So this is all huge, and I just really hope that people like what I'm putting out, my new sound in that way. And then also on my own label, I have a couple of releases lined up that I will release on Vautic Records. Yeah, and just there might be something else, but I'm just still negotiating the contract. So it's huge what will come, and I just anyone who likes my music or who is curious, I would say just follow me on my socials or go to my website, marcelvautier.com. You can find all my socials there. You can also find a playlist of my best of, and you will find everything. I will post across socials when these tracks release. I would be super, super happy if you give them a listen, and feel free to reach out if you have anything to say about them. I'm always happy to hear what people.
Amazing! It's going to be a great year ahead, man. You've been putting in the work, and great results coming out now as well too. I've got just one more question for you, if you're down. It's one I often ask a lot of people at the end of the show, so I think it can be helpful, is that if you could send 3 pieces of advice back in time to yourself when you first started producing music, what would you say to your younger self?
Yeah, the first one I already mentioned, but it's one of the most important ones. Don't go all the way on your own. Just don't do it. Maybe do it in the beginning when you just want to learn the software or something, and it's maybe too expensive to pay someone to show it to you. You can still do that. But as soon as you get advanced, look around you. There are so many great people out there. I can highly recommend Stu, of course. They will accelerate you. What needs 10 years needs then 2 years. So just go for that. If I would have done that, I would have been great music for more than a decade now. That definitely comes to mind. The other one, don't be shy about what you are doing. I would say just dare to do what comes out of you in a way. Just if you can, don't compromise. Like, go your own way. It's so fulfilling. Like, yeah, actually, I don't know if that's an advice for myself, because I've always done that.
Still good advice, though.
Yeah. Well, let me think about it. If I find something for my former self. Yeah, I feel like we've touched upon the most important points are already. Like, I can also say, if it feels wrong to compromise on your music, then don't compromise. So I would say I would release the music that feels right to me, and I think the opportunities come then. Like, you can reverse engineer it and try to produce for labels and what they want. But I would say better produce what you want and then find where it fits. Yeah, this is something I didn't do before I produce my style now. I produce a little bit different music, and yeah, I had it that way. And it was not really fulfilling. It's really more fulfilling to say I produce for what I think how it needs to sound, and then it will find its way.
I completely agree. All great advice there, man. That's awesome. Much, man.
Yeah, good chat, man. I loved chatting about all these topics, and yeah, if I have some more advice, I'm thinking about it.
Have you got another one for us?
I'm wondering.
What would you tell young Marcel when he's just getting into starting to make dance music? What did he need to know?
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that I also remember is that I try to produce only what fits into my genre, but oftentimes I realized the cool stuff happens when you fuse or try to fuse some other elements into your music and into your style. And you can hear that also in my music recently. I'm more and more incorporating instruments or sounds from other genres. Even if it's just like in the break, you have like a beat of another genre. For example, I have sometimes trap drum beat in my progressive house break, or you have, I don't know, like a flute as a lead sound or something like that, like something that's not necessarily common in your genre, or is maybe not a digital instrument. This is something that has really advanced my music, because often I have been told that my music is just like a shell that is kind of missing a hook, or is missing a message or something like that. And yes, you can achieve that in multiple ways. But I found for me, it works really great if you are just open to add something from somewhere else. It brings in that contrast to your song. Because if you have only, let's say you do everything with Serum or so, there's, in a way, it's hard to have anything stick out as the thing that people remember. Sure, it can be done. I'm not saying it cannot be done, but it's just, I found it so much easier. If I would have done it earlier, like I was just making my own stuff all the time. But nowadays you go to Splice, you just look for, I don't know, lead sound or something with you in the key of your song, and you just browse through it, and then you are open to maybe adding an Arabian sounding voice sample or some kind of traditional string sound or so, and you think, yeah, okay, that's not common in my genre, but that's maybe a good thing.
I agree, man. I think it helps people show their personality and unique style, because only you are going to choose those particular, whether they're vocals, synths, or whatever parts. So that fusion of flavors and ingredients, you can show a bit more of yourself in that way. And I think it puts a bit more soul in there and makes it more unique and memorable, right?
Yeah, I think it can be scary a little bit sometimes to say, okay, am I going to pull this off or not? But I think there it's good to be bold and to say, I'm willing to take this try. I think it's always worth it. And that's what sets you apart. Like you say, maybe not many people would put this ingredient in the recipe, but if you're feeling it, it doesn't matter what others would do. Yeah. Actually, it's good if you are the only one doing it, because everything, like great things that are like disrupting the genre or sounds, are things where people would have thought that it doesn't work together or it's weird, but then someone does it and pulls it off, and then they go through the roof.
Yeah, and it becomes like a whole new style or something, right? Or subgenre at least.
Yeah, in the best case, you're just revolutionizing everything.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. I think the way to decide if you should do it is if you love it. If you're putting that part in or trying it or writing it and going, oh, this is a bit weird, but I love it, then yes, you should put it in. Yeah. If you personally,
I fully agree.
Yeah, that's your compass. Yeah.
If it's you, if it resonates with you, I think it pays off to be bold and say, okay, I risk that this might be awkward, but I just feel it. So chances are someone else will feel it too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really good advice there, man. I love that. Really good advice in the whole talk today. It was so much fun, man. I really appreciate you coming on to the show today.
Oh, thank you so much. And I just share some experience. I'm not one to say, hey, this is the advice you have to follow. I'm just growing so much myself. And but yeah, anyone who goes the path that I have been going, that can maybe be helpful.
Exactly. Yeah, thanks again, man. We'll have to get you on again some other time as well, too, I think. We've got a lot of interesting things to talk about. But if anyone else is wanting to work on their mixdowns or their music too, remember you can go check out our school. It's at basskleph.com, BASSKLEPH.com. All the information's up there. A bunch of free stuff as well, too, about our courses, mentoring, all that kind of thing. But yeah, we'll be back with another podcast again soon. Thanks again so much, Marcel. It's been an absolute pleasure. Looking forward to doing it again soon, man.
Thanks for having me, Stu, and thanks for all your support over the years. I wouldn't know where I would be without you.
Oh, you are so welcome, man. You're doing amazing things. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, Stu. Cheers.